show. It's amateur hour here tonight. Hope you're all having a good night. Host Rob Noerr. By the way, I'm going to change the name of that. It's just going to be Rob Noerr Show. As soon as I get around to finding time to figure out how to change the graphic. Normal America. I'm an adult now. I'm near 40, so no need for the punny name. Hope everyone's having a great night. I know normally I don't stream Sunday nights, but I had the motive, I had the time, and I figured why not do a little stream here. I hope everyone's doing well. Yeah, Jet, 5K, man, on YouTube. It's amazing. Thank you all. We'll do a celebration stream soon. Now, I do have some scheduling business to talk about coming forward. Actually, unfortunately, any boost I'll get from Tim Pool's show, I'm immediately going to shoot myself in the foot by not streaming. Thank you so much, Pentuple. Thanks, man. Glad to hear from you. Thank you so much, Publius. Yeah, we're going to talk about that second show tonight. That's what we're going to talk about. Yeah, I see that. I did a little YouTube video earlier today about the mainstream media's bloodbath hoax. So, thank you, Imaginarium. Really appreciate it. So, we're going to talk about particularly that second Timcast episode. Because I think it's something that, based on reading of the comments of that video, thank you so much, Pentuple. I appreciate the sub. I really do. I think comments on that video were not favorable to Tim, and so I figured I would give my opinions on what happened, just be as honest as possible, and then talk a little about the issue of Israel, which was of hot contention, and I'll give my thoughts on it since I didn't really get to weigh in much on the live stream. I really enjoyed the first show. I thought Benjamin Weingarten was a fantastic guest as well. I thought me and him meshed really well. We both have similar interest in what we see as important topics and the direction we see the country going. So that first show, really enjoyable. I had fun the second show, don't get me wrong, but you know, obviously I wish we could have talked more about the issues that I wanted to talk about, and I would have had more speaking time. But that's because I'm greedy and selfish, so I obviously wanted to talk more. So thanks so much, Nate G. Yeah, we'll talk about that issue, about Tim's stance on Israel, and sort of what my opinions are on both his take and then what my take is. So what's up, Legend? Brief programming note. Thank you so much. You got 1,000 yourself? That's awesome, man. Yeah, I've been stuck around 4,000 for a long time. Thank you, Legend. So 1,000's nothing to sneeze at, man. Listen, if you're out there and you're streaming, there's multiple reasons to stream. Some people stream because they want to make it a career. I think that's a small minority of people, though. Most people that put videos up and stream do it because they enjoy doing it. And, you know, I haven't read the YouTube statistics. I have read the Twitch statistics. So right now, for example, I have, on Twitch, 6 people watching. My guess is, once we start rolling by the end of this show, I might have 30, 40 people watching on Twitch. Having like 30 people watching me on Twitch puts me in the top 1% of all Twitch streamers as far as viewers. Now, I'm not saying that to big time, like, look how great I am. I'm saying that to show, even a small time person like me, the fact that I'm in that top 1% goes to show that the vast majority of people that are streaming are only streaming to 1 or 0 or 2 or 3 people. And that's perfectly fine. That is absolutely okay. Everybody probably, well, I won't say everyone, but most people probably wish there were more people watching their stuff. I do. But I don't get bummed out at the lack of success when it comes to, that's not how I measure success, I guess. But it is nice to get those benchmarks, and 5,000 on YouTube, for as much as they've screwed me around, is an impressive benchmark. So I will do a celebration stream at some point for that. Unfortunately, it won't be coming up. So I will be streaming tomorrow and Tuesday, and then that'll probably be it for a while, other than maybe a little phone stream here and there, maybe, because my wife is actually going on I don't know what you call it, bridal shower. I don't know. People we know are getting married, and they're having all the women in the bridal party are going on like a week-long vacation in Georgia. And so I'm going to be single dadding it. And it'll be difficult to find time to stream anyways. And I also don't want to because I'll probably not be following the news that well either, because one of the things I really am trying to do, I think I'm okay on this, but I've made a commitment to get even better. I don't want to split my son's time with me not paying attention to him, particularly when it's one-on-one time. Sometimes I find myself in this trap of like checking X while my son's trying to tell me about like his cool dinosaur toys. And so I actually, when I'm like at work or in the evening when my son goes to bed, that's where I'm doing the majority of my reading the news. And I'm going to probably be vastly uninformed come Wednesday for at least like 7 days. I'll just not be reading much of the news. So it'll be... yeah, no one's in the chat in Rumble. I know it sucks. And Rumble's the only chat that I can't see that pops up on my Restream app there. So it sucks. So if you're typing on Rumble, I'm not going to see it until after the show. So anyways, the reason I bring it up is like, oh, you know, I understand the smart thing to do would be you get on a big show with a bunch of eyeballs like Tim Pool's show, get out there streaming as soon as possible so that hopefully some of the people that remember me from the show are like, yeah, we'll check out what this guy's up to, and then I put on a fantastic show, and then maybe I get more subs. And I will put on good shows today, tomorrow, and Tuesday, but then that's it. Then I gotta stop for a week to hang out with my... I look like a thinner... Well, anytime someone says I look thinner than someone, I'm taking that as a huge W. I know of Boogie, but I don't know anything specific about him. I just know he's a streamer or something. Probably streams sort of things I'm not interested in. But, thanks, EOD. I really appreciate it. I also wish I had more speaking time. We'll talk about that. So yeah, that's unfortunately. Now, I will say... I did try the old cliche. I feel so bad because I hate trying to sell myself. Like, so I had people give me advice, like, for example, the chances, one of the things I really wanted to accomplish was to make connections by going on Tim Pool's show, like with the producers, with Tim himself, with the other guests, so that hopefully that could lead to more interesting conversations with other people. So maybe I could parlay that into getting on shows with people like Aaron Matei or with some of the other guests there. Things like that. And so I hate doing this because I always feel needy, but I did reach out to some people and was like, hey, here was me in the Tim Pool show. I'd love to come onto your show. I don't really know how to sell myself. I wish I had someone do that for me. I think it feels more professional, but whatever. It is what it is. And actually a friend of the show, Alex Stein, reached out and was like, yeah, man, you can be on my show this week. But I can't because I'm doing the single dad thing. So it's unfortunate, but maybe in the near future I'll be on Alex Stein's show. I did the one offer that I did get, but it was coming regardless. Was another friend of the show, Jim Bob, who generously gave me an hour interview during my 24-hour show last year. I'm going to be on Jim Bob's panel, not this Friday, but the following Friday. I really like Jim Bob. I think he's a really funny guy. I think he's a really smart guy. So hopefully I'll be doing... Definitely I think I'm locked into Jim Bob's show, barring like some catastrophic accident happening to me. And Deep South, Liam Cosgrove was that guy's name. So those are shows that I'll be doing going forward, and then hopefully we'll line up some debates. Maybe I'll get to debate Destiny again, and we're going to talk a little about Destiny today as well. So an issue that came up with him. In fact, we could start with that if people like. We can start with the topic I have about Destiny, and then we could move forward to explaining briefly what went on with the second show of Tim Pool's and sort of the Israel debate. Thanks, David. I appreciate it. Destiny's taking L's all over lately. I think his divorce is taking his toll. Is he? Is he taking L's? Now, he might be taking L's in that he's losing political debates. I'll have to be honest. I've seen clips where he doesn't look good. His clip that we talked about in Tim's show, like, no one said that the vaccines would prevent transmission, is garbage. That's a garbage take. So, that's an L, as far as I'm concerned. But, like, for example, I see a lot of people posting clips of his big debate on Lex Friedman's show. It was like with over Israel-Palestine with that Norman Finkelstein. I don't know who that is. I know that he's a scholar that apparently has written some books and done a lot of work on Israel's mistreatment of Palestine. Okay, but the clips I saw that everyone was celebrating his Destiny taking an L was basically just that Norman guy, like, calling him names. And I have to be honest, I'm not that impressed. Now, full context here. I've called people names and yelled at people, but I don't believe anyone mistakes me for, like, a very serious scholar. Like, I am a blowhard streamer that's sort of a redneck rural guy, you know? So people expect that of me. Same of Destiny. You're right to say it doesn't come with a certain amount of, like, stoicness and prestige that being, like, a serious scholar on an issue. Being a debate bro. Which, at the end of the day, is basically what I am. I think I'm different than most of the debate bros in that I legitimately believe what I'm talking about. I try to reciprocate energy of people. And I'm willing to talk to sort of anyone and like talking about a litany of issues. I think a lot of the debate bro people are just there to, like, do panels and yell at people and don't really know what they're talking about. But at the end of the day, I'm lumped into that. I like debating online. A bunch of different topics. But if you're some scholar, is that the impression you want to give through viral videos? That you're just name-calling your opponents? Now, maybe Destiny started calling him names first. I don't know. If so, not that big of a deal. I don't mind the reciprocation. I just thought, you know, as someone who doesn't know this Norman guy and just heard him build up as, like, this very serious scholar, it was a little surprising to me to see he looked more like he'd fit right at home on a Dylan Burns panel, as far as I could tell. I don't know. That's my takeaway. Anyways, the idea of Destiny taking L's. Maybe, I like I said, I didn't watch most of these debates. I'm busy. But he's doing some pretty damn big shows. Right? And I saw some people, Jimmy Dore I saw today, some other people I can't remember on X that were like, oh man, why is Destiny even, like, on these spaces talking about this stuff? Why is he on Piers Morgan's show? Why is he on Lex Friedman's show doing this debate? And I have two things to say about that. One, even if you hate Destiny, even if you think he's a blowhard, right? Which I don't blame you for thinking. Destiny's been cordial to me. I think he's been, other than, you know, stupid just debate shtick stuff, he hasn't done anything negative to me. You know, his editor clipping me out of context, whatever. It's not like they clipped me out of context to make it sound like I was some evil monster. It would just clip me out of context to make it seem like he won an argument. That's small potatoes. That's not worth getting fired up about, right? But I'm not his friend. I'm not someone who's, oh, I hope I could be an orbiter and get... I'll go on and debate Destiny when I feel like it. If I feel like it. And that's that. No hard feelings, but not my best friend. Not looking to hang out with them in real life or any shit like that. So I don't have any skin in the game. If Destiny decided to stop streaming tomorrow, that's fine by me. I don't care. So when I say this, please don't take it the wrong way, like that I'm defending my friend, or I'm not. That this has nothing to do with that. What I'm saying is, even if you hate Destiny and think that he's a grifter, or he's a no-talent lefty, or he operates in bad faith, my question to you is, how is that any different than 99% of every other talking head we see on TV? So, like, before Destiny, when you turned on CNN and saw the 8 talking heads saying Trump was evil, they weren't grifters? They weren't bad faith lefties? Right, like Joy Reid, for example. Rachel Maddow has a primetime show. Joy Reid does. You know, when they bring on the medical experts on CNN, are they somehow good faith because they've been approved by CNN and they're an academic, so it's okay? Right? So for me, it's like, worst case scenario, even if you hate Destiny, is he materially any less deserving or any worse than the average lefty talking head that you see? Thanks, M. Nelson. We'll talk about that show. I promise I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this Destiny stuff. So that's number one. I just don't get it. You know, so like, if you're like someone like Jimmy Dore, for example, and you're like, who's this grifter Destiny? Why is he on Piers Morgan talking shit? It's like, Jimmy Dore, I like a lot. In fact, I like Jimmy Dore's takes way better than Destiny's take. And I would love to talk to Jimmy someday. I think he's funny. I think he's someone that I find to be passionate and telling the truth as he sees it, even if he's not always right. None of us are. But for him to be like, well, why should Destiny be there? Well, I would be like, Jimmy, you're a comedian. Like, you would think you, of all people, would be like, yeah, you don't have to be approved by the mainstream or by the academic circles to get involved in these debates. Yeah, I love Jimmy Dore. And that's the second thing. For purely selfish reasons. I'm straight up with you. I'm not even lying, right? Like, don't think, oh, I'm just saying stuff to try to be nice to Destiny. No, I'll tell you why I'm being completely selfish. I also agree with everything I've said already. But for purely selfish reasons, I am absolutely glad that Destiny's doing mainstream shows. Why? Because it increases my chance of doing mainstream shows. Both in the general sense, in that if a streamer from the debate sphere on Twitch and YouTube is now getting invited on national shows, then there's a chance that other streamers from the Twitch and YouTube debate sphere will also get a chance to do more mainstream. Thank you, Pasty Gangsta. I really appreciate it. Really do. That's just true. That's absolutely true. So if you're some you're Aircraft Sparky right now, he might dislike Destiny. I'm not going to speak for Sparky. He can give his opinions in the chat. Right? Oh, 1 second. I think my phone's ringing. I'll be right there. Thank you, Zootenant. Sorry about that. Thank you for the follow. But Sparky is a streamer. If he ever had aspirations, be like, hey, I would love... For example, I know Sparky's involved in the airline industry, or was. Or maybe Sparky was only in the military. I don't know. I'll talk to... Let's say that they want a streamer who knows a little about the airline industry. The chances of Sparky making it on a Piers Morgan type show... Even if it might still be slim that me or Sparky would ever get on a show like that. But it certainly increases when people that do similar things than us get to go on. Yeah, I've heard people say that about Destiny's Jaw. But if you're talking about me, my voice is whiny and high-pitched, as everyone in Tim Pool's comment section let me know. It's true, I know it. I also sound like Snot from American Dad. That's okay. Yeah, so Sparky, right. So all I'm saying is, from a purely selfish point of view, I don't give a shit if you're lefty or righty, if you hate Destiny, or if you think he's okay but you hate his politics. If you're a streamer, wouldn't you say, great, I'm glad streamers in general are getting these opportunities now. It's the inverse of the Alex Jones thing, where he got sued for like, what, $500 trillion or whatever? And like, I was watching all these streamers, like lefty streamers, like Good, and I was like, even if you hate Alex Jones for pure self-preservation reasons, you can't see why this is bad for you. Like, if you're some streamer like, I don't know, take a random streamer like Hassan. You don't think if you're streaming 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, you're not eventually going to say something really stupid? Do you want the precedent being set that you could be sued for hundreds of millions of dollars? I would hope not. But they're too dumb to realize that, obviously. I saw that, Robert. I saw that clip. Yeah, it's very nice of Tim. Yeah. So that's one. And then secondly, for selfish reasons, whatever you all think of Destiny, the only reason I got to do Tim Pool's show was because of Destiny. That's just true. Now, Destiny, and I mentioned this when it happened, Destiny was using me. Why was he using me? Because he knew he was about to debate Glenn Greenwald and Alex Jones. So he wanted me to talk about things that he views as conspiracy theories in preparation, particularly January 6th and Burisma. And I told people at the time, because I had people like on X being like, oh, Destiny's just using you. I was like, yeah, I know that. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. I was also using Destiny. Why? Because I got to talk to an audience of 12,000 people instead of 80. And a lot of them liked what I had to say, even if they didn't totally agree with me. So, yeah, it's okay. It was mutually beneficial as far as I was concerned. No problem. Destiny has had me on multiple times and will probably have me on again. So for purely selfish reasons, if he gets to go on Piers Morgan and then a clip of me goes viral debating Destiny and maybe sounding really good, which I think I almost always do, maybe I get a chance to do that show. So, I don't know. Yeah, 53 watching now. Thank you. You see what I'm saying, though? It's like, I have no reason to be upset. So, is Destiny taking L's? Maybe, but I think he's helping his brand. I mean, the cast of characters that Destiny's interacted and talked to in just the past month is really quite incredible. He did that Lex Friedman debate. He talked to Ben Shapiro. He talked to Jordan Peterson. He was on Piers Morgan. He was on there. He was talking to Dave Smith. That's a success. Even if you lost each and every one of those debates, which I'm not saying he did. I didn't watch most of them. So, that's all I have to say. Is Destiny a really bad person in his personal life? Has he been really bad to other streamers? I don't know, maybe. Does he have horrible dog shit takes? Yes. Yes, he certainly does. That I do know. I absolutely know that. Do I consider alternative media as mainstream? Not necessarily. It depends. Like once you get to the level of like Hassan, at what point as a streamer, as an alternative, do you get such popularity that you're no longer considered alternative? I don't know. There's an idea behind that. But one of the reasons I used to do a radio show, and I was really trying because I didn't see anyone doing this, particularly in the world of talk radio, which is overwhelmingly conservative, let's not kid ourselves, I was trying to merge the audience. Because the average person that would listen to my radio show, you know, weren't the type of people, they were older. They're not generally turning into a YouTube stream. And so I was trying to bridge that gap. Because conservative talk radio is enormous, all thanks to Rush Limbaugh, basically. And so if you could bridge that gap, I thought it would be a very cool thing. And whatever you think, Destiny is bridging a gap that previously wasn't really bridged, which was mainstream legacy outlets bringing him on. Or even big alternative outlets like the Daily Wire bringing him on. Do you think the chances of me or whoever your favorite conservative streamer is, you know, Andrew Wilson at the Crucible, or someone that's smaller but good like Sparky, or my friend Let's Be Frank, or Sarah Kane, or Drone Tech, or, you know, any of these people, and a litany of more. Do you think their chances of getting to go on a Daily Wire show have increased or decreased with Destiny going? I would say increased. That's my feelings on it. That's it. I have nothing more to say. We're going to talk about the Tim Pool shit now. But that's my honest feelings on it. So I just don't get it. I don't want to go back to the gatekeeping days of old where it's like, you got to be considered a journalist or an academic to be able to weigh in on these debates. Screw all that. No. So good on Destiny. I hope that it bites him in the ass. I hope that he gets on these shows and then they bring me on and I crush him in front of a national audience. That'd be fantastic. I'll take it. So that's it. But I didn't get the hate to Destiny just for going on the show. You might say I thought he was shit on the show. He probably was. I didn't watch. I saw that little clip that was shit. Him saying, "Well, no one really said vaccines." That's bullshit. But that's that. Okay, Tim Pool show. So I'll rehash exactly what went on as quick as possible because I did do. If you go to YouTube, if you're on my Twitch audience, Rumble or X, if you go to not my last YouTube video, but the one prior to that, that was an hour stream directly after Tim Pool's show in my hotel when I was like half asleep. So that's right. I destroyed the buffet after the panel. Correct. Absolutely. Basically, I was offered a spot to come on Tim Pool's Culture War show, which is his daytime show on Tenet Media. And that offer went out sometime in February, and they were just trying to find a date that worked. That show was supposed to be two people debating and Tim moderating. Unfortunately, they were unable to find someone for me to debate, so they ended up finding Benjamin Weingarten, who's a journalist, to sort of agree with me and come on. But that was how it came about. And so I was just supposed to do the morning show. Now, if you don't know, Tim's morning show, Culture War, gets less viewers than Timcast IRL, which is his main show. But I didn't care. For me, the primary thing was I wanted to go on and show a different audience of people what I was about and hopefully get some interest. And I also wanted to build some good relationships, not just with Tim, but with people in his team that could either set me up with other connections of people or just give me some advice on things that I could be doing better and the things I'm not good at, like my production values, how to sort of put myself out there. And so I got to pick the brain, and I have to say, I have nothing but nice things to say behind the scenes of everyone I've met down there. And I probably met about a dozen people. They were all incredibly fantastic people, including Tim. I had a lot of fun, played poker with them, ate some lunch with them. It was a good time. Yeah, I agree, Courtney. So that was all good. Really like Benjamin, the first guest as well. Hopefully he'll be coming on to do my show at some point. So I think that'll be cool. He provides perspective as a legitimate journalist, which we're bereft of as a country at this point. So I thought that was interesting. As we were playing poker, Tim asked me if I'd like to stick around for the second show. I said, sure. Well, I asked my wife, and then I said, sure. Because it's, again, not to harp on this, but the only reason I could do stuff like this, being a dad, is that I have a wife that's willing sometimes to take the brunt on herself and have to sort of, unfortunately, be single mom a lot of time while I'm at work 3 days or 4 days out of the week, and I'm traveling to, West Virginia, Maryland area to do Tim Pool's show. So, she was incredibly nice, unexpectedly, to be single mom again another night. So I do thank her for that. So I agreed to stay. Met Liam before the show. We'll talk about Liam here in a minute. Liam Cosgrove was a guest in the evening. And we did Tim's second show. If you saw the second show, I'll be straight up with you. I did not enjoy that show as much as the morning show. I thought the morning show, me and Benjamin were had similar interests, and as a result, the topics seemed to focus more on the things that I wanted to talk about, like corruption, the Fannie Willis case. And those are the things I was expecting to talk about. It was evident to me from meeting Liam that we had also some areas of agreement, but I told my audience that the thing I really didn't want to talk about was Israel-Palestine. That's what I didn't want to get in on, because I know I've seen how that goes on that show particularly, and I also know that it's something that I don't have strong opinions on, and I'll explain my Israel-Palestine take, but the spoiler is, I just think we should stop sending money to all of those places. I'm willing to hear either side. I think both sides are shit. That's basically my argument in that conflict. I think it was going well before I was born and will be going on well after I'm gone from here. I feel bad for any innocent people being killed in any way. I think both sides have legitimate claims as to the atrocities the other side has committed. I just don't care. Not in the sense that I don't care that people are dying. I just don't care in terms of what our government should be doing. The answer to me is the government shouldn't be getting involved. That's my feelings. And I told Liam that before the show. And Liam and me had some interesting conversations, though. It was clear he was someone who was hyper-focused on sort of the abuses of Israel and their ability to lobby the United States to get the United States on board with the abuses that he was talking about. I don't disagree, to be honest. I think the Israeli lobby, as I've said in my show many times, does have undue influence, which is my solution is stop giving in to that influence. We're not sending you anymore. Same with people that would be trying to influence on the behalf of Palestine. No, we're not sending you anymore. There, that's it. And I know that's not the hugest brain take, and that's not the most historically informed take. That's it. Though, that's my honest take. And so I don't want anyone to think that going on to Tim's show that I changed what I believe because I was on Tim's show and I didn't want to upset Liam or I didn't want to upset Tim. Anyone who's followed me for any amount of time knows that's exactly what Rob said in this debate. In fact, I've offered to bring a pro-Israel and pro-Palestine person on and listen to both debate at the same time and try to become more informed. But my answer will be the same at the end. Even if someone was able to prove to me, no, Israel 100% in the wrong, I'd say, wow, that sucks, man. Anyways, let's stop giving both sides money. That's it. That's what my take would be. And I did get to mention on the show, and one of the reasons I default to that is because I'm tired of the moral posturing by these institutions in the United States to sort of play on our emotions to get us involved in these conflicts. But look at this. Look at these images of these children being bombed. Look at this. Oh my goodness. And they know we have big hearts. They know the average person's devastated, myself included. And so they use that to exploit the situation and then exacerbate these conflicts, which lead to more dead people, which, by the way, they're not pulling on your heartstrings with that. So that's my take on it. Anyways, not to get too much into the details of what goes on behind the show, because that's private, but I will say it was clear leading into the show, I don't think either Liam or Tim would be upset with me saying this, it was clear that they were going to butt heads. Like, that they were, and it was probably going to be some yelling. That was clear, which is fine. I did see that, Sparky, that's laughable. So, I didn't know exactly what the topics would be. First one was Fannie Willis, that's great. You know, then we got into areas that aren't my area of expertise and aren't necessarily things that I'm that informed or interested in, like airplanes. And then 40 minutes of Israel-Palestine. And then, inner monologues. Do we have inner monologues? Now understand, I'm usually someone, anytime I'm on a panel, probably 70% of the time, I talk the most. Why? Because I think I'm informed on a variety of topics, or at least I think I am. And I like talking, and I have an aggressive personality. But one of the things I told me going into that show was, listen, I'm getting an opportunity to speak to a bigger audience, but so's everyone else that's there. I mean, Tim and obviously the normal people in the show, but Benjamin Weingarten, he's also getting that opportunity. Liam Cosgrove, he's also getting that opportunity. It wouldn't be fair for me to monopolize and, like, act big time, like, oh, I'm going to fucking steer the, I don't want to talk about this anymore, let's move on. So I was just going to organically leave the conversations go where they went. And it's Tim's show, and he picks the topics that he likes, which is perfectly fine. Thank you so much, Resist. And maybe a lot of people are interested in those topics. Who the hell am I? Right? No one's obligated to tailor their show to me at all. It was generous enough that they brought me on as a guest. I was happy with that. When it came to Liam and Tim, all I could do is give my honest opinion. I understand why Tim would be frustrated with a hyper-focus on Israel by many people, because I think many people blame every ill in the world on Israel and Jewish people, and it gets old and tiring. I understand that, right? However, stylistically, the way that he expressed that frustration was not to my taste. Yeah, of course, I'm not played by Progressive Victory, or any other group for that matter. The only monies I get from my political tapes are when people sub to me or give super chats. That's it. What's up, Achilles? How's it going? So, I would have handled it different. Maybe not. I don't know. But, Tim was very hyper aggressive. And I'll say this. I don't know how much Tim knows Liam. I got to know Liam a little going into the show. I talked to him for about an hour. I could say I'm pretty good at reading people. I did not get the impression that Liam was an anti-Semite. I did not get the impression that he's someone that's like, Jews run the entire world and everyone that I don't like here and all problems are blamed on Jewish. I didn't get that vibe at all. He expressly complained about how those type of people sort of make what he does harder. So I thought Liam was getting maybe treated in a hostile way because of prior interactions Tim's had on the subject. I don't know. I don't exactly know what Tim's interactions with other guests or in other places have been with people that are criticizing Israel in the past. I ultimately thought Liam was bringing up points that were reasonable points, and I thought that Tim's concerns were warranted as well with the hyper-focus on Israel. But I thought some of the points that Liam was making, Tim didn't necessarily respond to the specifics of those claims and was coming off in sort of an aggravated manner, which put Liam, as someone who I don't know is the most assertive debater, sort of on a back foot, but stood his ground. And ultimately, for me, and this is just me, and I mean no offense to Tim, and I mean no offense to Liam, I'm just giving my honest reporting of this because I saw a lot of the comments. To me, I thought that it wouldn't have been entertaining viewing. For me, it sounded like two guys really pissed off yelling at each other about an argument that they were just rehashing the same thing, when in reality they agreed on 90% of it. That's how it felt to me. Like, at the point where Tim's like, yeah, man, like, we shouldn't send money at Israel. That's why I kept asking Liam, I'm like, but after that, like, what's the point, right? Like, you're talking past the sale. You already got the guy to admit the most important thing for you, because the thing for him is, U.S. government should stop sending money to Israel. That's his big point. What are the reasons? Well, one of the reasons is he blames Israel for being the aggressor. Okay, you could agree or disagree with that. If I say, I disagree with that, I don't think Israel's the aggressor. In fact, I think Israel's 100% in the right. I just think the United States shouldn't be giving any money to these countries, period. Then Liam should be like, okay, sounds good to me. I disagree with you about Israel being the aggressor, but yeah, you agree on the policy implications, so good enough. And so for me, you know, I understand Liam's trying to make his point to a larger audience. I get that. But once you see that it's sort of, you're stuck in the mud, the tires are just spinning, that Tim's not going to sort of let you really articulate it that much. For me, and I know I'm biased because it's not really a topic I wanted to spend a lot of time on anyways, I was like, we should probably move forward. Let's get to a different topic. And unfortunately, I think of what happened is, you know, I understand that the comments on a video are only a certain segment of people that watch, especially someone like Tim who's put together such an amazing channel. He's got tens of thousands of people watching live. So 3,000 comments in the YouTube channel isn't going to be even, you know, a big representation necessarily. But it seemed that the overarching opinions, whether they agreed with Liam or agreed with Tim, were we kind of wish we would have moved on from this. Which is all I was trying to get to. And again, I make no offense to Liam or no offense to Tim. I thought Tim was short-selling some of the things that Liam was saying. I do think there is aggressive Israeli lobbying in the United States. I absolutely do. I don't think it's as simple as Israel's just the United States puppet and not the other way around. There's certainly some back and forth, but I think there is a huge Israeli lobbying group in the United States and has been for a long time. And maybe I should have spoke up in defense of Liam more on that point. But I thought that by approaching it in the like, Liam, but you've already made your point, like you already got the key concession, shouldn't we kind of move on? I thought that was the best chance to move forward to talk about the shit that I wanted to talk about. And unfortunately it didn't happen. And so the way it shakes down, I thought the first 30 minutes or so of that show were very good. Both in that I was entertained because I was part of the topic and things I could talk about. And I hope that the audience was entertained by it. And, you know, I didn't get to speak much in the final 2/3 of the show. I didn't feel it was appropriate for me to jump in and demand to be able to speak. It was an argument between two people that really no one else would have been able to interject that much on. So I tried my best. And I hope people don't think that I came across as like, oh, you were sticking up for Tim because you were on Tim's show. Tim don't need me to stick up for him. I assure you. He's a big boy. He can handle it himself. That was not what I was trying to do. And I know I had a couple people reach out to me and say that they thought I mistreated Liam. Here's all I could say about that. Liam's welcome to say what he wants publicly. For the record, Liam thanked me after the show and said that he probably wishes we would have just moved on from the topic as well. And he knew that I was trying to sort of play the middle ground and moderate it in. We had a discussion on, I thought, some of Liam's best points and how he would be able to use those going forward. And Liam knows that he's invited to my show and he's going to come on one of these nights. And I'm going to give him as much time as he wants to outline his case. I'm in agreement of a lot of what Liam says. I don't think he's a terrible person. I think he was nervous. I think that, you know, he saw an opportunity to talk to a big audience and he really wanted to make the points that he wanted to make. And I know my channel's not as big, but he'll certainly have that chance on my show. So I have no hard feelings to Liam. I thought he was a nice guy. I really did. Got to talk to him behind the scenes and thought he was a very nice guy. You know, and he's someone that's, you know, he went viral. We didn't talk about it much, but he was viral that day of that Tim Pool show for questioning Dan Crenshaw. And Tucker Carlson retweeted him It was Liam that asked the question of Dan Crenshaw, what about the U.S. intel agencies that influence our news and spy on our social media? And Dan Crenshaw's like, no, they don't do that. That was Liam. He was the guy. He has a press pass. He was the guy who asked that question. So that's, Yeah, I saw that, Dill Pickle. Thanks. So, that's... By the way, it's amazing how much the YouTube audience has grown more than the Twitch audience and talks more. It's very interesting, because for a while, Twitch was a bigger channel for me. So that's it. And let me also defend Tim a little in this sense. I understand his source of frustration, because there's so many people... I know he had Kanye on. And it's so easy to lose your channel if people are hyper-criticizing Israel, if they get in a bad spot with it. And I understand what it's like to get frustrated by people that want to keep bringing up the same topics over and over. Even on my small channel, that happens. I get frustrated and I bite people's heads off that don't deserve it. So I get that. I do. But, and it's Tim's show. And people, I saw, people saying, well, Tim interjects a lot. And Tim, sometimes he's talking about stuff. Tim built that show from the ground up. I'm a guest of Tim. It's his show. If he talked for an hour and 50 minutes and I only got 5 minutes to talk, I'm still grateful for the opportunity. Now, objectively, would that be the best way to run a show? Probably not. But you see my point. I have nothing negative to say on that front. Tim invited me on there, a relative no-name, and then he asked me to stay for a second time. Does that mean I'm going to agree with everything Tim does? No. Does that mean stylistically I would do my show the same way Tim does? Of course not. But that's okay. What you can't knock is the success that Tim has had, and he has given someone like me a chance, and other people, and I think that that's incredible. And hopefully I get to go back on and talk again. Does that mean if I go on because I'm thankful to Tim that I won't argue with him or disagree with him? No, that's not what that means at all. Thank you, sir. Thank you, RK. I appreciate it. So that's it. I hope I cleared up to the few people that had reached out to me and said that they were disappointed, that they thought I was somehow shilling for Tim and shilling for Israel. That's not what my intention was. I hope that most people that watched didn't come away from that. I'll be honest, I'm biased. I don't see how that's what you came away with. But if you did, hopefully my explanation makes sense. And, all I can say, the best defense I have for the way I acted there was, please ask anyone who's followed me for years. My take on Israel, Palestine, ever since I've been streaming, has been the exact same. None of our business. I understand that passionate people will come on both sides of the issue, and they'll be able to say truthful things about the horrors of the other side. And at the end of the day, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Anyways, I'm concerned about people in this country. The United States needs to stop meddling in the affairs of other countries. And again, the point that I make all the time, even if you are someone that thinks hypothetically it's a good idea for the U.S. to be the world police, the people we have in charge of that world police at this moment, people in the intel agencies, our political class, are not good people. They don't give a shit about the people of Israel. They don't give a shit about the people of Palestine, Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, Ukraine. They don't give a shit. They're exploiting those groups for their own personal benefit. They are corrupt and incompetent. They're selling out the wealth of our country so that they could get rich with their allies around the world and in these corporations and in military complexes. And the people back home are struggling. That's what I give a shit about. That doesn't mean I don't feel bad that innocent people die in dozens of countries around the world in conflicts. I do. I feel terrible. But it's not our government's role. And so, I've been the same on this company because so many people have reached out to me for since October. Oh, we should come on. I'd like to debate you on Israel Palestine. I'm like, what's the debate? If you want to debate my stance that the U.S. shouldn't be involved, happy to debate it. But if you're like, I want to argue with you because I think Israel's most at fault, I'll be like, yeah, maybe you're right. I don't give a shit. I don't really take a stance on it. I think Palestine's worst. Yeah, probably right. I just don't give a shit. I don't take a stance on it. So I don't know what the hot take that someone would debate me on. Now, the hot take, and I've debated many people on, should the United States be involved in these conflicts to try to wind them down or to send weapons to help the side that needs help, blah, blah, blah. That I'll debate. That I'm passionate about. But, you know. Yeah, the duplex friend. There you go. From South Africa. He says, I'm from South Africa. The election's coming up. The biggest talking point is Palestine-Israel. Yet we have one of the highest murder rates in the world. How about we focus on our own people? So there's a sports radio show here. I live about an hour and a half northeast of Pittsburgh. There's a sports radio, did I say sports radio? Yeah, no shit. Sports radio network, 93.7 The Fan. And it's like 24/7 Pittsburgh sports. One of the hosts from there is a guy by the name of Colin Dunlap. And I saw him on X the other day, and he's like, yeah, the town council meeting in the like suburb of Pittsburgh he's in was 5 hours of Israel-Palestine. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh just lowered the police force between the hours of like 1 a.m. and 7 a.m. to 20 people in the entire city on the force. They will no longer respond to property crimes, like a list of them. Pittsburgh, which you could believe me or not, but I'm telling you, was a beautiful city. It was rated for years one of the best cities to live in. It's going to shit. And what's their town councils talking about? Israel-Palestine. Now, if that doesn't illustrate why the focus on that issue is antithetical to the things I care about, I don't know what else does. In South Africa, all the problems there, Israel-Palestine. Derek says, I'm disappointed you felt that way. I enjoyed the debate and thought you did a good job of rolling into the moderator role. I thought it made you look good. That's why I subbed to your channel. Don't be mistaken. I'm not upset about it. I'm upset because I'm a selfish prick that wanted to spend 3 hours talking about Burisma and Russiagate. That's the upsetting of it. Because it's not like I was sitting there thinking like, well, shit, this is terrible. It just wasn't entertaining to me as someone who went on there with an agenda. And my agenda was to talk about issues of FBI corruption. I'm glad that you thought that I took more of a moderating role, which is exactly what I attempted to do. And like I said, I explained myself to Liam afterwards. And perhaps, I will say this, a little inside baseball. Tim literally had to get running, like right at the end of the show. Shook everyone's hand, thanked us for being there, said he'd be glad to have us back, and then he had to run. So I didn't get a chance to talk to Tim specifically about the episode or anything like that, but I did get a chance to talk to Liam. And yeah, I was more than happy to sort of take... It would have been a similar role if we would have talked more about the TikTok ban, alleged ban, because both Tim and Liam were on opposite sides of that issue as well. My take on it was I probably sided more with Liam in thinking I distrust that ban. But Tim was making some specific claims that I needed to check into, which were a lot of people were tweeting shit that literally wasn't in the bill. Like, they were screenshotting things from other bills, which could entirely be true. I hadn't read the whole bill. I still haven't, but I didn't going into that show. So even before the show, when there was discussion of that, I was kind of asking both sides questions, almost like a moderator would, because I was trying to make up my mind on it. So, so I hope I didn't upset anyone with my explanation there. That's it. Is there anybody have any questions specifically about that? Any criticisms of me? Criticisms of Tim? Criticism of Liam? I'm willing to look at. For real? Yeah, I mean, my gut feeling is Tim was probably wrong about his take on the TikTok stuff. Jake says, nah, you were siding with Tim. You think so? What's up, Frank? Good to hear from you. That's awesome. Thank you so much. About the TikTok bill? Yeah. Jake says I was siding with Tim. Jake, you're talking about on the Israel situation, right? That I was siding with Tim? Thank you, Max Lang. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I agree. I tend to side more. Go ahead, Sparky. You can criticize me. I don't mind at all. Correct. Israel. I don't think... I mean, I could see how that impression would come. I certainly was trying to move the conversation ahead. But if you listen, I tell Liam... And when I say move the conversation ahead, it was evident to me that if I directed my attempts to move ahead at Tim, it was going to make the situation longer. I thought that was evident. I thought the best chance of moving on was to get Liam to move on, because I felt like if I tried to get Tim to move on, it would probably just seem like Rob's making the same arguments as Liam, which I wasn't making the same arguments as Liam. Oh, I don't know enough about aviation. I've flown twice in my life. You don't like my lamp. This is not my house. This is work office, so I have no I can't fix the shade. Hey, is that better? But I don't get to choose this stuff. So I think it's fair for someone to say they thought I was siding more with Tim than Liam, but that was my rationale. You know? And if you listened, I did tell Liam, like, yeah, I do agree with you with, like, the Israeli influence in AIPAC, and there are things that I agree with you on that. So, I don't know. Look, it is a difficult question, though. If you get your opportunity to talk to a big audience, do you go in guns a-blazing like, nah, fuck you, you're wrong to the host if you feel that way? No, I didn't feel that way. I was... Again, the issue for me was, and someone tell me if they think I was wrong about this. Once Liam, me, and Tim all agree, yeah, don't send any money to Israel. That's like 95% of the debate, right? And for me, it's like, that's all that matters, moving on. You know, if Tim would have been like, no, man, we got to send this money to Israel, I'd been like, nah, I disagree. But I was like, yeah, I agree with you both on the important shit. I don't really care to... That was my question. That's why I asked Liam. Like, I even asked him specifically, like, okay, let's say now that we agree not to send money to Israel, do you want us to then, the U.S. government, to further condemn Israel? And he was like, no. Okay. Right, then that's why I was asking Liam, like, well, where are we going from here then? Thank you, Legends. I appreciate it. I really do. So anyways, that's it. I'll tell you right now, I enjoyed the morning show more than the evening show, only because I felt like the topics were more to what I wanted to talk about. But how could I even be upset? Remember, I wasn't even supposed to be a guest on the second show. So what sort of jerk would I be to be like, hey, you should have tailored the topics to me? I literally was like a last-minute addition, so, you know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Duplex. I didn't get that. He even said to me, he was like, Rob, I'm surprised you said things to me beforehand. I was like, right, because you're just talking to someone and they're like, you know, well, what do you think? And I was like, we shouldn't give money to Israel. And, you know, one of the things I told Liam this, and I said he should look into this. Someone could tell me if I'm wrong. I saw a little snippet of this, but I was unable to dive into it. Supposedly there were allegations that Secretary Blinken had a meeting with diplomats from Qatar in October, where diplomats from Qatar suggested that they would extradite leaders from Hamas that were in Qatar, and Blinken turned it down. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I did tell Liam about this, and I said I wouldn't cite that and just say Rob told me. It's just something that I read. I didn't see it flushed out. But if that's true, that's huge for people like Liam's side of the argument. Because what that would prove would be that the leadership of the Biden administration did not want a quick resolution. They wanted an extended conflict. Oh, happy birthday, OBS. What was... I don't know what time offered. I do know... let's see. Yeah, I ate Slim Jims for dinner that night. I think they were offered to provide dinner, but I... No. Yeah, it certainly wasn't stated on the record, but there was reporting suggesting it that I saw on X. But you don't know how that is. Sometimes you read a couple accounts that say that, and then it's complete bullshit. So I told Liam, I was like, don't quote that based on me. I'm not confident enough to say that on a big stream like that because I haven't done my due diligence into sort of looking into it. What did I do between shows? We played poker for a while, and then I hung out. Tim spent some time with some people he was connected to. He had to leave for a while, so I hung out with a lot of the like producer-type people for a couple hours. Then I went back to my hotel and grabbed an hour nap, then stopped at the gas station and got some Slim Jims and listened to a little wrestling YouTube videos, and then returned to the place around 6:30. Then talked to Liam and a couple of the show's producers and security before we were ready to go up at 7:15. Then we hung out with everyone up there. So, yeah, I didn't eat much there. Cody or Roman? No. Try. I was watching this guy that was when TNA in 2010 ran on Mondays with Raw, and he's going over each show, so it wasn't any modern stuff. But that was it. I have nothing but kind things to say. Incredibly personable crowd that was operating the show behind the scenes with him. Unfortunately, can someone tell me the names? Hannah Claire and Lily? Was that the names of the two ladies that were on the show with me? Unfortunately, because they weren't there all day, I didn't get a good chance to talk to them very much. I just met them like right before we went on the show. But they both seemed nice. Yeah, I have respect for Tim too. Did I feed the I didn't feed the chickens, but I hung out with them for a considerable amount of time. Nash Trucker, thank you so much for the super chat. Don't forget us when I move to Hollywood. Libby, that's it. I'm not moving to Hollywood. I'm very happy in rural Pennsylvania. Thank you. Hannah Claire and Libby Evans. Okay. I know she was head of the Post Millennium. I did know that. So yeah, but they were incredibly polite. So I enjoyed my time. If I had to guess, I would say Libya, facial expression wise, I don't know how happy she was with my take that we shouldn't send Israel money. Just saying. But I could be wrong. Maybe I misread it. But I was looking at her when I said it, and she didn't seem too enthralled. So, you bet Tim's watching my super chat? Oh, Tim, if you're here, hi. I don't know. I like Libby and Hannah. I thought they were fun. So, not everyone's going to agree on everything. But that was it. That was the show. Enjoyed it. I like Ian too, though. Ian's responsible for me getting on the show in the first place, so I appreciate Ian a lot. And it would have been nice to have actually met Ian in person, because I'm thankful to him. There's my brother quoting some... Thank you, Mitch. I appreciate it. Yeah, that first show though is more in my wheelhouse. Yeah, I like Ian a lot too. I told Ian this when I did Ian's show. Ian, he reminds me. I was drawn to being friends with a lot of art students when I was in college, and it's because they think way differently than me. Like, I'm definitely the type of thinker that's like thinking about things on a practical level on the ground, right? So like, what's the difference between me and then like people that I have an affinity for online, like The Crucible, Andrew Wilson and them at The Crucible? They're looking at things more of in a philosophical context. Now, they're definitely viewing it through a Christian nationalist lens, and they certainly talk about politics. My friend, let's be Frank, who's on the chat here. Frank, excellent political commentator, but the best thing Frank does, I don't know if he would agree with me with this, but he does prayer groups. And he talks about scripture. Like, it's not... I'm not operating on that. Like, I don't do that stuff well. Ian, to me, is similar in that, like, I think we have two completely different ways of thinking. He's thinking at things like, yeah, I would say as a weirdo, but in a good way, like, super, like, out there, like, philosophical headspace. Like, what if we were all connected to the same computer? And then I'm like, right, I'm talking about authoritarians that are trying to lock us up. I don't think I want them in control of the computer my brain is forced to be hooked into. So it's two different, looking at like the same idea in completely two different levels. But I enjoy that. I think sometimes that makes for an interesting conversation. Isn't he a hippie? Maybe. Yeah, he's not evil. Of course not. I like Ian. Yeah, well, a lot of people shared that opinion, Jason. I think that maybe Tim's frustration with having debated this topic before kind of oozed out onto Liam, and I don't think Liam was being unreasonable. Now, I thought Ian was being unstrategic in continuing to rehash the points that it was clear weren't getting anywhere, with him at least, but, you know, Ian does have his own show, so yeah. No, I've never heard my voice sounds like Steve Smith. I've heard my voice sounds like snot. Is what I've heard quite a bit. That's the first time I heard Steve Smith. But I like that show. I like American Dad. All right. So you got me for another hour. We'll go till 10, so an hour, 10 minutes. What do people want to talk about? I did a little video on the bloodbath discourse today. You know, there's not much more to say when it comes to the specifics of the topic. It is another... And this is one of the reasons that I really want to make connections and have more shows where I'm doing debates and things like that, because I don't know how stale it gets. Now, there's some different people watching me today just because maybe people that this is the first show they've seen me do. And so maybe I'll talk about some of the things that I've talked about a lot. But for the people that watch me a lot, I don't know if you feel like me, sometimes things get stale. How many times can we show example after example of how shitty and corrupt our institutions are? Like, how many times have I debated people on the Trump said drink bleach hoax, or the Trump said Nazis are good people hoax, and now we're on the Trump said bloodbath hoax? It's the same shit over and over. And it's not just with Trump, it's heavily focused on Trump. But let's not forget the story of Nicholas Sandmann. Remember this? Shit, it's been so long since I talked about this. What was the name of the Native American guy? Jason Phillips, was that it? Am I remembering that? This is all I remember. Here's the story if you guys don't remember. Remember there was these kids, these high school kids that were at the March for Life in D.C. and all you saw was this viral video of this Native American like beating a drum and this kid in his face just like smiling at him. And it was like, oh, these kids surrounded these Native Americans. And then we found out what the real story was. You ready? Here was the real story. You see, there were black supremacists there called the Black Hebrew Israelites, and they were yelling racial and homophobic slurs at the children. And then Nathan Phillips and his crew, these Native Americans, decided to get in the kid's face. Then the kid, because he was nervous, laughed. Nathan Phillips' Native American friend was yelling at these kids to, quote, go back to their country. And yet the media selectively edited the story to make the kids look like the bad guys. Now, I don't know about you, but if there's a group of adults harassing children in the name of racist supremacists, I'd say the adults are in the wrong. But not our media, because it was just too perfect. Privileged white kids at March for Life insult minority Native American and threaten him? Oh boy, that's too juicy to pass up. Now, Nathan Phillips, the Native American guy, this is what I remembered. I remember, like, reading an article, or I think it was like a video, like a newscaster, alleged newscaster, was saying he was Nathan Phillips, and for his tribe, he was the keeper of a sacred pipe. So fucking ridiculous looking back. The keeper of the sacred... Well then, if this kid smirked and a keeper of a sacred pipe, well, that seals the deal. Like, what the fuck was this? You know, then it turned out Nathan Phillips was a stolen valor guy, like pretended to be a veteran or some shit, and he was like a professional agitator, and he was sticking up for black supremacists and yelling at kids, and the whole story was bullshit. So then what the media do, you remember this? They doubled down, right? So the media's response was like, oh yeah? Well, here's a clip from... What was it? Stoneman Douglas High? Here's a clip from Stoneman Douglas High 8 years ago at one of their basketball games. And look at this! The kids in the crowd have painted their faces black. They're wearing blackface. Right. What they call that, for people that aren't perpetually, like, you know, wokeist leftists, they call that a blackout game. Now, most people don't paint their face, but the idea is you all wear the same color. So, for example, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the team I'm a fan of, they used to have whiteout games. And they would give you, like, white t-shirts when you walked in. Then it's supposed to look, like, cool and intimidating to the opposing team. Right, well, they happen to have a blackout game. And I've seen many of people paint their face black for sporting events. For example, perhaps you've heard of the Los Angeles Raiders. Or they Los Angeles now? They were Oakland. They were L.A., then Oakland. They're the Vegas. They're the Vegas Raiders. Do you ever see, like, the black hole? Where all the crazy Raiders fans paint their faces black? Are they racist too? Right? Furthermore, what the hell does that have to do with the situation at hand? The footage they were showing was from 8 years prior. Those kids weren't even at that school then. So what's the point here? Now imagine the inverse. Imagine that you see, a video that goes viral and it shows a bunch of black teenagers and it looks like they're doing something shitty. And then it turns out, actually, the reason those black teenagers were yelling was because a bunch of KKK member adults were harassing them. And you'd be like, oh shit, I feel terrible then. They were just kind of standing up for themselves. That's what was going on. But then imagine the person goes, but, wait. 8 years ago, here's what a black kid from that same high school did. So these kids are guilty too. What? Vita, thanks for the super chat. Says, Rob, if Tim Pool offered you a job, maybe being third or fourth chair, would you take it? No, probably not. One, it would have to be a considerable amount of money to support my family, because I would probably also have to move, because I don't see myself driving 4 hours every day, obviously. Secondly, I'm not a good co-host. I could be an interesting guest. I would not be a good co-host. I talk too much. And I think that would get annoying if you're a host. See, what I want for my show is a co-host who would agree to basically only talk 5 to 10% of the time. And who the hell... Thank you, Omar. I really appreciate it. Who the hell wants to do that? But I don't want a co-host that talks 50% of the time. Because I would rather be talking. And I don't think that I would mesh well with Tim, because I like to talk a lot. And once I started to get comfortable there and I started talking over Tim and dominating time, I don't think it would work out. That's just being honest. So I don't know that it would be right for me, and I don't know that it would be a good fit for Tim. If Tim offered me knighthood and keys to his Tesla and 4 bags of grains, would you take the offer? That now we're talking. I'd need a Cybertruck and Steak and X, the Don Lemon deal. What if Crowder asked me to co-host? Same problem. I don't think Crowder wants a co-host that's going to talk as much as him. I'd be at him too. Yeah, so, Now, what I would accept, and it's something that maybe I'll get a chance to talk to Tim at some point. Tim has his Tenet Media channel, which is where the Culture War's at. And it looks like what Tim's trying to do, and I talked to him briefly about this, is trying to bring on a connection of creators that all have a similar political outlook and bring them on board in one media channel. So I would be thrilled if Tim offered me a chance to post a 1 hour or 2 hour video once a week on Tenet Media. I think that would be great. But he wouldn't have to pay me or anything. I would just do that if they let me post to the channel. I would enjoy that. I think that's something that I would be a better fit for. But obviously, I think that's a little presumptuous for me to... I meet Tim Pool one time and say that. But hopefully, if I could continue to expand as a show and show that, I think I have some takes that would be worth listening to and bring something to that brand, maybe that's something they would consider. If he gave me Chicken City, my wife would take it. She loves the chickens. I think Lauren Southern is part of Tenet. The gay guy, I don't know. I don't know who that would be. You can't have a show with a sidekick smarter than you. Right, that's why I wouldn't have Omar as my sidekick. He would just be shaming me. It wouldn't work out, But no, it's I think that when you look at I think who has a good setup. Have you ever watched Dan Bongino's show? I think Dan's figured out the formula, at least for me, that I like, which is 90% to 95% of that show is sort of Dan Bongino giving his take, and then he's got this assistant guy who's kind of funny. It's very much a Johnny Carson, Ed McMahon feel. That's a good mix, where the sidekick guy's just throwing in a little, that's good. Yeah, Lauren Southern, yeah. And I've talked to Lauren before, yeah. It's written by Lauren Chent, maybe. So, but just an interesting idea. Oh, Dan's mom passed? That's sad. I didn't know that, yeah. Am I Eastern or Western PA? I am Western PA. I live in Clarion County, so I'm sort of a Yinzer. But I'm in rural PA, so PA, certainly you're right, there's Western and Eastern PA, but for those that don't know, Pennsylvania, you basically have Pittsburgh, I'm backwards here, so Pittsburgh will be over here, and then Philly's over here, and then up here you have Erie, and then this is basically, all rural in between. But the bulk of Pennsylvania is... Erie's even very small compared to Pittsburgh and Philly. Actually, Philly dwarfs or makes Pittsburgh look small. But that's it. So you're Pittsburgh or you're Philly. You're west or east. But I'm more of a Yinzer. Thoughts on the Steelers getting Russell Wilson and Justin Fields? Well, I wouldn't come to me for sporting advice, but I was excited with Russell Wilson. I don't know what it is about him. I've always liked him. Justin Fields seemed like someone with a higher upside. He's younger. Looks like he might have more athletic ability in the tank. We'll see if he has the sort of clutchness to be a good quarterback. But, I mean, if I'm looking at it, and last year going into the season, I have Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, and this year I have Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, and basically for the same price, I'm going to take Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. That's my thoughts on it. You think Russ is washed? Maybe, but I think he'll be a game manager. I think the Steelers have a pretty solid team with the exception of quarterback play, but someone who can hand the ball off, get a couple of key first downs, and then hopefully mentor Justin Fields. I think it's a good fit, Guesting and others. Maybe you're right, Omar. Yeah, I think the Bears got robbed. A 2025 6th-round pick? Jeez. Now, he's going to be expensive if you pick up his option. It's going to be like $22 million. But no one's coming to me for sports stock. I'll show you that. But yeah, so if I had my druthers, that's the type of co-host I'd want. I want a co-host that would be like, okay, Rob, I'm only going to talk 5 to 10% of the show. And then the co-host would sort of run the show like, hey, Rob, first article we have for you to look at is this. And then I'd talk about it for 30 minutes, be like, next. And they'd be like, okay, here's the next thing we have for you to talk about. And then they'd read the story. That'd be great. Then I wouldn't have to do any production for the show. I'd just come on and talk. And it would keep the show fresh and moving, I feel. As opposed to just me talking. Oh, yeah, we'll talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're the only sports team in Pittsburgh worth a damn, yeah. But who the hell wants to do that? Who wants to... What's my selling point going to be? Hey, come and basically be my sidekick. Oh, really? What's the money like? Well, you could have half of what I make, which is maybe $100 a month. For, what? 5 3-hour shows a week? Who the hell's taking $15 for 15 hours of work? Getting paid fucking $3 an hour. It's this shit, I do it because so it'd have to be someone who just wants to do it for the fun of it, but there, Joseph accepts my job. Permanis, yeah. Of course. My son loves Permanis. He loves their pizza. Everyone thinks of the sandwiches, but my son loves the Permanis pizza. Yeah, I love Gavin. Hopefully I get to talk to Gavin. Though you always run the risk that Gavin will do something crazy and get you banned off all platforms. But I still like him. If I could argue with any political rep in the U.S. right now, aside from Biden, who would it be and why? Mitch McConnell? But it might not be worth much. I don't know how much Mitch is operating with at this point. Chuck Schumer? Nancy Pelosi? Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House? Because they have power. And I think they're all part of the same uniparty institution that doesn't give a shit about us. Omar, you wouldn't be willing to do that. You'd be fucking yelling at me the whole time. You'd be like, Orange Man bad. And I'd be like, oh, for fuck's sake. But Omar is a nice guy. And I wouldn't say he's not bright. Do I see things getting less crazy in America? No, I don't. Not in the foreseeable future. Favorite politician, Ron Paul is my all-time favorite politician. The people that I think I look up to politically, not necessarily just politicians, would be Rush Limbaugh, Andrew Breitbart, Ron Paul, Thomas Sowell, Milton Friedman. Who else would I put in that list? In office now, I like Thomas Massey a lot. I like Chip Roy a lot. I've gone back. I've gave shit to Thomas Massey on X, but he's been a good sport. Thank you, Janice. Thank you. I hope I am moving up. I love Vivek. Vivek was my top candidate for. I would have picked the order that I would have taken the people I wanted to win the Republican primary. Vivek number 1, because I'll explain why. Ron DeSantis number 2, and then Trump number 3. But I would support any of those 3. I thought they were all much better than the average politician that we get. But I thought that For me, I'm a single issue voter on the idea of corruption. I think that no matter how articulately we could argue disagreements on, say, funding Israel, or universal health care, or what our tax policy should be, or what our border policy should be, if there are unelected bureaucrats that are actually running the show, and they're sort of controlling our elections, then what me and you think are irrelevant on those topics. Doesn't mean that it's not worth having those discussions, but you better hope that the FBI agrees with you, I guess is what I'm saying. Because otherwise, who gives a shit? Right? Thanks, Omar. I appreciate it, man. So for me, the question I'm asking in the Republican primary is, which of these people have the best chance of substantially putting a dent in this corruption? Vivek suggested disbanding the FBI. That gets my vote. I don't think Trump or DeSantis would come near close enough to do what needs done to the FBI. I think DeSantis maybe would do a slightly better job than Trump, but he'd probably just fire a handful of people and then things would... That's nothing. Cut the head off a snake, it'll grow 3 more. Like, it's a hydra, it's not a snake, I guess. But that's what the FBI is. You know, what was Trump going to do? Build them a new building? I don't know. Not good. So I thought Vivek was my the top choice for me. Now, the criticism of Vivek is, well, is he just saying what he thinks you want to hear? Maybe, but I'd rather take someone who's at least saying the right things than people that aren't even bothering to say the right things. I'm a big Styx fan. Hopefully I get to talk to Styx at some point. I really like him. Styx is one of the people that inspired me to start streaming because he streams like I wanted to stream, which is literally sit down, hit record on the camera, no bells and whistles, just giving you his unfiltered thoughts. And that's exactly what I like doing. So I always was inspired by Styx for that. Plus, I like a lot of his takes. Mike Pence not endorsing Trump, not surprised. Mike Pence is part of a uniparty. They're still, like Ken Buck dropping it. It's all the same thing, right? The reason they harp on obvious exaggerations like January 6th being an insurrection is because they are part of a uniparty and they're more frightened of outsiders taking control of the Republican Party, potential outsiders like Vivek and Trump and even DeSantis, people that aren't considered the old school neocon type people. They're worried about those type of people. They would rather be a losing party with the old traditional rulers, your McConnells, your Bushes, your Paul Ryans, the Jeff Flakes, John McCain, Ken Buck, Cornyn. Those are the people they want to be remain. They'd rather be a losing party with those people in charge of the party than a winning party without those people in charge. And so that's, of course, Mike Pence is going to, What's my opinion on the Fraternal Order of the Police? Difficult question. So, one, if it has to do with... I'll claim ignorance on exactly what the Fraternal Order of the Police is. I assume that's like a fraternity or union of the police, I would assume. Which sort of gets to the overarching question that Tim was talking about of like all these police being criminals. There's certain truth to this. Certainly there are organizations within the police that like this thin blue line shit where it's like they know that some cops are bad and crooked and they let it go. And that's worth being condemned. However, I understand the impetus for it. I'll be honest. I've worked many jobs where I've seen things occur that are against policy, sometimes in serious ways, and I haven't ratted them out. Now, I have a line. I'll tell you a story about a line that I have but if I'm an inner city cop in Chicago and I'm, I have 2 or 3 people on the force that get shot every year or something, and you're patrolling the most bleak areas where it's just like sapping your will to live, and you see a fellow cop do something shitty and illegal, like, I don't know. Are you gonna rat that cop out? I don't know. Now, from an outsider perspective, it's like, well, you have to. You have to, because we need to have faith in law enforcement. They have to hold themselves to a higher standard. But from a human perspective, trying to put yourself in that cop's shoes, I can understand for a litany of reasons why you wouldn't report your brother if that's how you look at them. The point Tim's getting to, I'll have to disagree with some, right? So Tim's talking specifically about the Border Patrol, and he plays this clip from Dr. Phil, where Dr. Phil's saying they know that some of these children that the Customs Patrol are taking are being sexually trafficked. Now, there's 2 ways to look at this. Tim's absolutely correct. You are an absolute monster if you are a Border Patrol agent, and you're picking a child up, and you're dropping this child off at 123, Elm Street, and you know that that person at that location that you're dropping that kid off to is a predator of children, then yeah, you're fucking garbage and you should go to prison. But if you're like, look, we know that a small percentage of these children are going to end up in the hands of traffickers, I don't think that's the same. I'm not saying it's good, but does anyone disagree with me? That's not the same. Gary Mark says, for $5, thank you, my friend. My super lib girlfriend pointed me out to you somehow. Praise Sky Daddy, shaking my head. You're going to make another conversion one day, brother. Keep it up with the good work. Thank you so much, Gary. Tell your girlfriend to tune in. I'm a very likable character. I hope that comes across, if nothing else. Sometimes I get a little pissy and like yelling at people. But yeah, I mean, I too share Tim's frustration in that, you know, you're one of these FBI agents that kicks in the door the pro-life guy that's eating breakfast with his family with AR-15s pointed out. Get to the ground! What's his crime? Well, allegedly telling people outside abortion clinics not to get an abortion. I mean, that's monstrous. You're raiding James O'Keefe's house because he allegedly got Ashley Biden's diary. You're dragging Roger Stone out by his underwear. Yeah, that shit's all horrible. But I don't know that means arrest all the police. And as far as the Fraternal Order of Police and specifically actions they have or haven't taken, I couldn't speak on that. I have known really good cops. I've known really shitty cops. That's true, Rob. I'm not disagreeing. You know, read the book Ordinary Men. It talks about this, right? How moral, good people ended up doing some of the most atrocious things you could imagine. And their primary excuse was, I did them so my associates didn't have to. Because I knew someone would have to do it, and I will take the shame instead of them. It's crazy. Yeah, you're right. Just following orders doesn't cut it. But there's a different level of those guys that were literally marching pregnant Jewish ladies out into a field and shooting them versus a border patrol guy that's like dropping kids off at a facility they pick up and then taking them to another facility and saying, but you should know that second facility is going to traffic them. I don't think it's necessarily the same thing. So let's say I just don't know. It's not the same thing to me. Breaking news, Ogre shaved his beard. Ogre's really like 14. The dude's never owned a beard, trust me. He may be a beard for some lady out there that needs a male friend that pretends to be her boyfriend, but I don't think he's owned one. Hank called Lope. Uh-oh, it's Lope time. My son calls milk Lope. I don't know why, he's 3. He's always called it Lope, so when he's tired, he'll want a glass of Lope before bed, so... Oh, he called Lope milk. Oh, no. So he's using the right term. You look like Patrick Bateman. Me too. When I used to be a drinker in college, I'd go to like these college parties and meet people, and everyone would always be like, you look like Chris Farley, or you look like John Belushi, or insert any fat actor. And I would always be like, really? Usually I get Brad Pitt. That's usually who people say I look like. No one ever got the joke, but... Yeah, he is 3 years old now. Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy. I look like someone who ate Patrick Bateman. Too oily. His skin's too moist. Big fan of that movie, though. If I've ever been outside the U.S., shamefully only once, and that was to Niagara Falls, Canada, which is literally as close to my residence as possible for being outside the country. And basically, if you've ever been to Niagara Falls, Canada, it's just tourist United States, so there's nothing going on. Though I will say one of the days we drove 3 hours north just into like rural Canada and ate at a pretty cool diner. It's the first escargot I ever ate. But yeah, I don't even have a passport, which I should have. I am woefully untraveled. I literally have existed in the same 20-mile radius my entire life. The most traveling I ever did was with the debate team, and that's the 2 times I've flown. The national debate tournament that I qualified for was in Fort Worth, Dallas, so I had to fly there. And I flew to another tournament once. But the bulk of the tournaments we participated in were on the East Coast, so stretching from New York to Florida. But very rarely have I been out west. How tall is Tim Pool? Well, I'm short, and I didn't recognize if he was he was around the same height as me, so I'm like 5'8". My guess is he would be around there. I don't know. I didn't really pay attention, to be honest. We were sitting most of the time. If you come to Pennsylvania, you can come. You can crash on the... I got a guest room. You can crash in the guest room, and I'll get you... You can play... We'll get the cornhole board set up. You can play. We'll take you up to the in-laws, and you can hang out with the goats and the chickens. And they still have a pig. We'll take you out to the Washington house. You can have a dino burger. Yeah. When you're coming in, let me know. We'll get you hooked up. Anyways, the bloodbath. That's where we were going there. So yeah, for those that didn't see, Trump was talking about the automotive industry and said if he's not elected, it'll be a bloodbath in the United States because Biden will be shit and allow the U.S. to be outcompeted. My chat display is broken. Oh, it is. Yeah, let's see if I can fix that. Now let's try it. Check. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Montclair. I do know Montclair, absolutely. Never been there, but familiar. See, now my wife's traveled more than me because my father-in-law drives oversized loads, and she used to drive the escort car in front of it, so she used to travel all over the place. They'd go up to, like, Vermont, and let's talk about the bloodline, yeah. Yeah, the Dino Burger is just a giant cheeseburger. It's really good. Scolio. Oh, I'm sorry. I can never pronounce that. I've seen it typed. Skullkill. I know where it's at, though. So yeah, the bloodbath shit, it's just more of the same. And they have to rely... I mean, there's good news and bad news. And I did a small video on this on my drive to work. There's good news and bad news about it. The bad news is that it will never stop. I mentioned this on the morning show with Tim. Like, it is true when the press pats themselves on the back and says how important they are and holding truth to power, etc., etc. That's true. It is that important. Unfortunately, we don't have a press that does that. That's the unfortunate thing. And so what happens is you see more and more displays of this. And even though the mainstream media has far less influence, and that's the good news, than it used to, it still affects a certain swath of people when these blatant lies are consistently hammered at them over and over again. So that's certainly true. The good news is more and more people are realizing it. And if you go on X, you can see people that just aren't following it. Compare the bloodbath hoax to the Nazis are good people hoax. People bought that shit hook, line, and sinker. It was a lie. It was always a lie. I was even arguing with the one dude on X today about, he's like, oh, it's like Trump's bleach comment. What bleach comment? Show me Trump's bleach comment. What was that? Oh, wait, it never happened. Trump was talking about UV light and how it was having promising signs. And then he talked about disinfectants and how it eliminates it and how maybe we could inject disinfectants, which UV light is a type of disinfectant. But perhaps he was talking about some other type of disinfectant. And that could have success. First, we were told he told people to drink bleach. He never told people to drink bleach. He doesn't use the word bleach. He didn't mention the word drink. Second, okay, then he said inject bleach. Again, he never used the word bleach. Okay, third, he told people to inject disinfectants, which clearly meant inject bleach. Well, two problems with that. One, no, he didn't tell anybody to do anything. He talked about hypothetical cures that could be coming on the horizon. And he said one of those could be the injections of disinfectants. Now, there is, whether you want to use the technical term injection or not, there is certainly an entire category of medications that are disinfectants that are used and prescribed by medical professionals. So far, I was able to see that at least some of them are injected or placed in your eyes for some sorts of eye surgery and eye medication. Nonetheless, the idea that we have to default to he meant bleach is absurd. Lastly, even if he did, who cares? The central claim of why it was so bad for Trump to say this was because he was apparently instructing people to do this. Same with hydrochloroquine, remember? Remember the story with hydrochloroquine was? Oh, Trump said hydrochloroquine, and then some guy went out and drank aquarium cleaner, fish tank cleaner, and then he died, and that's Trump's fault. Trump didn't tell anyone to take medications unprescribed. Trump didn't tell anyone to inject shit on their own. He was talking about doctors looking into possible treatments. What did you want Trump to say? Well, we're all fucked. There's no treatments on the horizon. Oh, my chat really shit to bed. What's going on here? Well, I can't chat anymore, but I can still see you all's chats. Yeah, there was something about the aquarium guy. I don't remember exactly. But it's just another in the long... Remember, people forget this. The reason Biden said he was running for office was Trump's good people on both sides comment. Implying that the hoax was real, that Trump said Nazis were good people. Trump talked about Charlottesville 3 times after the incident, and all 3 times he condemned white supremacist groups. The 3rd time, after his continued browbeating, he correctly said there were good people on both sides, and then quickly follows it up, but I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis, the white supremacists, etc., etc. So then people said, well, even though he said that, the truth is there weren't good people on both sides, because if you're marching with a Nazi, then you're a Nazi. Okay, well then if you're marching somewhere where people were saying pigs in a blanket, frying like bacon, then you're obviously a terrorist, anti-cop sympathizer, correct? No, you could say, well, I didn't agree with them stating that over there. There were plenty of people, some of which were interviewed by the New York Times that were there at Charlottesville that were just there because they saw the danger in pulling down historic statues. They weren't white supremacists. They weren't Confederates. They were just someone that saw that as part of our history and understood if you allow the communists to tear down statues that they don't like or that you don't like, and eventually they'll come from the statues you do like. Remember, Trump was mocked for saying, next thing you know, they'll be tearing down statues of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. And that's what they've done. He was right about that. So there were good people on that side. By the way, there were bad people on both sides as well. Most of the people that were there at Charlottesville were shitheads. You had a bunch of shithead sort of alt-right people that were there to do mutual combat with a bunch of shithead Antifa type people. Most of them, many of them came armed with ball bats and shields on both sides. I agree the anti-Semites should be allowed to have a platform. Totally agree with that. Is it alright to punch a Nazi? No. Why? Well, one, it's immoral. You can only use violence in an act of self-defense. But second, because once you say, yes, this group of people is so heinous, it's okay to punch them, then the next thing they'll say is, and you're that group. My response to any lefty pushing the inject bleach would be, is Donald Trump a doctor or a scientist? Did he ever claim to be a doctor or scientist? No. Then even if he did suggest it and he did not, why would you take it as medical advice from someone that isn't qualified to give it? Are you an idiot? Yeah, that's certainly true. How many times have we heard people say, like, Gonzalo Liro deserved to be locked up because he was spreading Russia's talking points? Now, how many times have you heard me in a debate arguing against sending aid to Ukraine and advocating for a peaceful resolution and heard my opponents tell me I am, quote, spreading Russia's talking points? So in other words, they say, we should allow people to be locked up that spread Russians' talking points. And then they go, oh, and by the way, you're spreading Russia's talking points. So what's the implication? I think you could see it quite clearly. Same going on here. And it sort of gets back to what I was talking about earlier with Destiny going on these mainstream outlets, which is, it seems to be that the people, even if they hate Destiny and or don't want him on there for other reasons, the end result of this is going back to the way things used to be, which was to say that there was these gatekeeping barriers that needed to be met before you were allowed to have a voice on these mainstream outlets. In other words, you had to be a journalist, or you had to be someone handpicked by CNN, or you had to be an academic. And I think that's shit. I would rather have shitty people that we consider that used to not be qualified, but also mean that there could be people that aren't gatekeeped, than having gatekeepers but keeping a handful of shitty people out. It's my opinion. Did I watch Party 85 of the Chris Chan documentary yet? I did not. I barely know who Chris Chan is. I believe he was a video game streamer or something that's accused of inappropriate contact with his disabled relative. Maybe his disabled mom. I don't really follow that world of shit. Yeah, I mean, the truth about Destiny is he's probably more reasonable than many left-wingers. That's probably true. Look, I think some point, Destiny, 20, 30 years from now, will be more right-leaning than left-leaning. Probably be too late, but he'll still be an authoritarian cheerleader. There we go. Yeah, right. Trust the experts. Let's leave the experts win, but not you novices. Though that is something I'd like to say to Destiny. He's sort of getting the trust the expert speech right now. He was one of the ones that yelled when people like me were like, look, before you advocate for lockdowns, you should have to give a reason as to evidence you see that justifies it. And then someone like Destiny would have said, oh, these do your own research people are full of shit and blah, blah, blah. We have to listen to the experts. Okay. Same shit with Israel-Palestine then. Right, Destiny? We should listen to the experts like Norman Finkelstein and you shouldn't have a spot in the conversation. Of course, I disagree with that. But you start to see how that mentality quickly could go south. I'll check my phone here. Yes, wife, if you're still listening, 12-1. If you're listening. Thanks, RK. Just read my chats here. I want to read one more chat here. You're from Southeastern PA. All right, Wolfsong. Yeah. Representing, man. Thanks, Frank, man. 107 people. That's doing well. We dropped down to 81 here on the YouTube stream, but that's okay. Maybe if I start singing, we'll drive away everyone else. Just one more thing I got to check. Okay. You're good. I'm a little late, but I saw you in Temple, man. Beyond happy for you. It was great to see you get a review of the show and kill it as expected. Thank you. Thank you so much. Destiny looked like a buffoon on Lex Friedman with the Palestinian experts. He was totally out of his league. Could be. I didn't watch it. I actually considered watching that, because it's about 4 hours, I think, on my drive home from Tim's show. But then I ended up watching wrestling videos instead. It was more fun. Yeah, it is a rare Sunday stream. What's up, Go Rams? Oh, shit. Both my brothers were in here. How about the TikTok man? You know, my opinion, without having read it fully yet, is anytime you're giving increased legitimacy or powers to our government to censor people, it will inevitably be used against me or people like me, and so I'm not for it. You want to move to the U.S. the next few years, hoping Vivek's next in line? Vivek? I'd be over in a heartbeat. Yeah, me too, man. I mean, I'm here, but I would think you'd be right to cheer for Vivek. Why aren't more people of them freaked out about jailing a Republican kid for a meme? Here in the USA, a meme. Look at the UK. What's the name of the podcast with the gentleman? God, it's on the tip of my tongue. He's really good. Trigonometry. I saw a clip of him the other day saying there's 4 times more people jailed in the UK last year than in Russia for social media posts. Or arrested, I guess, not jailed. Would you be down to talk to JSTLK now? He's down to talk anytime, but dig use. I don't know if I know JSTLK, but sure, I'm down to talk to anyone anytime. I'll be honest, I'm only going to be streaming for like another half hour, but if he wants to come on and talk for a half an hour, sure. Is he on now? He wants to talk now? I warn you, one thing I'll warn you is on my, crappy work computer here. Sometimes when I try to talk to people, it overheats. But we'll give her a go. Holy cow, can you guys even hear me? Because I realize my microphone's not even pointing in the right direction. Let's see here. This is a mess. There we go. That's better. Sorry about that. Yeah, it was. What the heck's going on? Good stuff. Does he know my... Here's my Discord channel. Now, I should use my Discord channel way more. I apologize. I'm very bad at... Oh, crap. What's going on with my chat here? Give me a second. This is going to be a mess. I bet... Let's try this. Is it going to work? Here we go. Alright, that worked. Surprised. There's my Discord link if JSTLK wants to talk. He sounds familiar. I'm sure I know him. I'm sure I've seen him in the chat. Who's over here? Oh, just the usual ticket. The usual characters. Is Discord a lefty thing? It's supposed to be like video game chat, but for those that do like online streaming like me, Discord's usually where you do your conversations through, like your video calls. It works better than Zoom or something like that. So, but it's basically just like a message board that I have control over, and that you could start your own channel and have control over. Well, where is the person that they said? You'll have to speak up if you wanted to come on. Oh, they certainly do, Ocean. Yeah, that's certainly true. Yeah, I've had my channel removed before on Discord. Well, I don't know. JC, can you get on yet? He said later today or any other day. If you could join the server here, he can invite you either later in the future. Yeah, later today's probably not going to work. I'll probably be in bed. But yeah, I'll join his server. What should everyone call me? Me. Oh, for crying out loud. Here we go. Alright, here we go. It's trying to make me sign in. I don't remember my password on Discord. Let's hope it's this. Okay. Real exciting stuff here. There we go. Alright. I think I got it. Yeah, I'll accept the invite. Oh, is it here? Yeah, okay. Yeah, JC, you can come on for a bit. But I do want to be out by 10 if I can. Yeah, I'd be happy to talk, man. I'd talk to anyone. Is that his name on X too? I'll follow him on X and then I'll send him a message there. Well, there we go. We got someone on. Who's on? What are you getting here? Oh, I heard someone. No? Oh, it's got the little underscore. Okay. There we go. Now we can send private messages. Yeah, I'd be happy to talk. By the way, anyone in general in the audience, if you ever want to talk, just give me a shout. in the chat unless I got something specifically going on with the show. I have no problem. I like talking to people, so. I see you, JC, on the chat there, but I don't see you on the Discord. Yeah, thanks, Sam. Appreciate it. Anyways, I'm going to end here soon. I normally don't stream on Sundays, but I thought it'd be worth sort of doing one. I don't plan on coming on every night and being like, remember that time I was on Tim Pool? Not really something I'm looking to do, so like to line up some debates, some specific topics and things like that. You'll see at least for the next 2 nights. Unfortunately, I was explaining to people earlier in the show, Wednesday evening late, I have to take my wife to the airport, and she's going on sort of a bridal shower thing, vacation. She's going to be gone for like a week. So you'll hear me Monday and Tuesday night, and then you probably won't hear me again until the following Wednesday. So I'll skip Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, because I'll be single dadding it. I'm lined up to go on Jim Bob's show not this Friday, but next Friday. That'll be fun. I think he's possibly lining up some pretty big guests for that, so I think it'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, TL, yeah, I know. It's a special stream tonight. And then I think I'm going to be doing Alex Stein's show soon as well. Alex is a friend of the show, so trying to keep the ball rolling, trying to work with only you new technology. Listen, man, anyone who wants to talk to me, there are ways to make this work. All you need is a phone. So what I could do is get a Google Voice number, and you'd be able to call in with your phone, and you could talk to me that way. Now, it works best if you have Discord, or if you could get on X Spaces. Those actually work best, but it's possible with just a phone. So if you really wanted to talk to me, we could do call-ins with the phone number, and that works just fine, too. We could make that work. So, I myself am a total novice when it comes to technology, so I have complete patience with people that are trying to figure out how to get the technology working. And obviously, I'm not a huge streamer or anything. Being on Tim's show is nice. Reaching a bigger audience temporarily is nice. My prediction is I'll see a temporarily boost in some of my viewership, and hopefully I'm good enough to keep some of those people to stick around. But in general, it'll probably have a regression to the mean, which is fine too. But regardless of how big I ever get, I don't want to be big time and feel that I'm too good to talk to people. That is completely antithetical to the reason for starting my channel. The entire reason for starting my channel was I feel like there are people in rural areas in this country that I think are some of the greatest people the country's ever seen, and they don't have a voice. No one talks about them in the entertainment industry or academia or in the media or in, the corporate America, and the politicians don't represent them. And so, that's why I do this show. One of the things I wanted to do with the show was, originally, the goal was to bring on, like, every week, a trucker, a carpenter, a welder, and sort of have them describe their experiences and how the country's changed for them. I haven't done very well at that. But it would be ridiculous for me to be like, oh, now I stream to 300 people, so fuck off. I'm not talking to people unless you have a big audience. That would be absurd. That would be counter to the exact reason that I'm doing this. Yeah, I know. I have to stream consistently, except I can't. Wednesday, I'll have to take a week off because I got a single dad it, and it's just not in the cards. But that's okay. Maybe I'll do some quick streams on my phone and things like that. I'm going to try to start adding at least a small video every day to YouTube. So I'll still be doing the live streams, but I'm going to try to put little videos like that up. Yeah, gotta reach the little guy. I agree. That's the entire idea. So now, if I have a show going on and I'm already debating someone or I'm really involved in a topic, I'm not saying that every night I could talk to anyone who says, "Hey, I want to call in." But the idea is that I like call-ins. So really, Wolfstream, that's crazy. Thanks, SMF. I really appreciate it. All right, let's find someone to raid. Now, is it possible? I've heard that you could raid people on YouTube now. Let's try. Let's check that out. Let's see if that's real. Ah. Andrew's debating tonight. All right, how do I raid? Well, I don't know that I can raid. But what I can do on YouTube, in fact, everywhere, instead of a raid tonight, why don't I direct you to my friend Andrew Wilson's channel at the Crucible.
Protestantism anytime.
Why don't I send you over there? And he's got a debate going on right now, so I'm just going to post the link. I think you guys... Oh, wrong. I think you guys will like Andrew. And now you might not, particularly if you lean more left. Andrew's more conservative than me. He is a Christian nationalist, so if that's not your thing, you may hate him. But I think he's entertaining and he's a good debater. He's got a debate going on tonight, so maybe check it out if you haven't seen him before. He's a good guy, and he's also a good guy in this, that he's one of... Look, I got to tell you, this is just a little behind-the-scenes stuff, but you know, there's a lot of jealousy in the streaming community. It's just true. It really is true. And so a lot of times you'll see people that you think, hey, I'd probably agree with that person politically. They'd help me out. And whether it be through jealousy or just being busy or big-timing you, a lot of times it doesn't happen. Andrew's the type of dude that would help you out in a heartbeat, and he has helped me out. He is a bigger show than me. He's probably looking at about 1,000 live streamers on average per episode, and he's willing to help me out anytime. We talk to each other on the phone all the time. He's been a tremendous help to me. So give his channel a chance. I think you'll like it. He's debating here tonight, so... They keep temp banning you. Well, I can't speak for his moderators or anything of that nature, but just a... that I have no control over, obviously. So, all right. Thank you so much, everyone. You should see me around 8 p.m. tomorrow night. We'll try to find something interesting to talk about. I'll try to line up some debates. So my shows are always best when I'm chumming in lefty debaters. That's what I do best. If you saw me on Tim's show, and you're new, and you're like, yeah, Rob sounds kind of interesting... Ask my audience, my shows are 10 times better when I'm debating someone, in my opinion. I think I'm a phenomenal debater, and I really enjoy doing it. For me, it's more entertaining, and so hopefully you get to see me. Thank you, Andrew Henderson. I really appreciate it. I really do. All right, thank you all so much. We'll see you tomorrow around 8 p.m. As always, have a good one.